Let me ask you something real. When was the last time someone said the right thing and completely shifted your mood? When was the last time someone ignored you and it stayed in your head longer than it should have? When was the last time you reacted and instantly regretted it? Here's a truth most people avoid. Every time you react, every time you reveal what gets to you, every time your emotions spill over, you hand people access to you. Emotion is not strength. Emotion is a handle. And the moment someone finds that handle, they don't need to force anything. They just pull. Think about it. The more openly you feel, the more predictable you become. And once you are predictable, you become easy to manage, easy to influence, easy to move like a piece on a board. The world, cold and calculated, does not run on noise. It is not led by the loudest, the most expressive, or the most emotionally open. It is controlled by those who hold back, those who observe, those who reveal little and understand everything. Most people believe caring deeply is a virtue. They think wearing their heart openly makes them authentic, maybe in poetry. But in reality, in relationships, in power dynamics, open emotional exposure becomes vulnerability, and vulnerability gets used. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He studied power, leadership, betrayal, and one pattern kept repeating. Control belongs to the one who is least emotionally dependent. Read that again. Not the strongest, not the smartest, not the richest, the least emotionally dependent. Because power is not about how much force you can apply. It is about how little leverage others have over you. Now, before you assume this is about becoming cold, emotionless, disconnected, stop. That is not the point. This is about becoming unreachable, present but not affected, engaged but not controlled, fully aware but impossible to shake. These are not habits. These are not casual tips. What we are breaking down are control mechanisms, 7 of them, and each one removes another way the world can push you. By the end of this, you will start to see your own reactions differently. You will recognize what they have been costing you, and more importantly, you will know what to replace them with. Before we go further, drop this in the comments. I control my reactions. Ready? Let's begin. Number 1. Conceal your emotions to remove weakness. Your reactions are never as private as you think. Every expression, every shift in your tone, every moment you go quiet at the wrong time, it sends a signal that says, this affects me. This matters to me. This can be used on me. People don't guess your weak points. They observe them. They test them. They say something slightly off and watch your eyes. They ignore you and measure your response time. They cancel plans and track how quickly you reach back. These are constant experiments, just without a lab, and every visible reaction becomes data. Data that builds a precise map of you, where to press, when to push, how to get response. A boss who knows you fear criticism will use it to extract more from you. An ex who understands your emotional triggers will stay in your mind longer than they should. A competitor who recognizes your pride will provoke you into mistakes. This is not overthinking. This is human behavior. Power belongs to the one who gathers information while revealing less. The moment you express something externally, it stops being yours. So what do? You reduce your visible reactions. Not permanently, not with everyone, but intentionally, especially when something is at stake. When you hear bad news, stay composed. When you are challenged, don't rush to defend. When someone tests your limits, don't immediately reveal them. Let them guess. Keep them uncertain. Because what cannot be read cannot be targeted. This is not about being fake. It is about discipline. Fake people pretend to feel what they don't. Disciplined people feel everything, but choose what becomes visible. The face you present to the world is a tool. Use it with intention. A calm face in the middle of chaos is not the absence of emotion. It is control, and control is power. Stop allowing your face to reflect everything happening inside you. Let it become a filter, one you lower only when it benefits you. This is not about hiding who you are. It is about protecting who you are. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is power. Number 2, eliminate all needs to become non-negotiable. This is where it gets uncomfortable, because this lesson does not just ask you to manage your reactions. It forces you to confront what you actually want from people, what you need, what you expect, what you are quietly hoping someone will give you. Need creates dependency, and dependency strips you of control every time. Look closely at the areas in your life where you feel the weakest. In most cases, there is something you want from that person or situation. Validation, attention, closure, approval, a response, an apology, recognition. The moment you need something from someone, you shift the balance. You place yourself in the lower position because now they hold something you want, and that gives them leverage, whether they use it or not. This is why people stay in draining relationships. They need to feel chosen. This is why people stay in toxic jobs. They need the title, the identity. This is why some friendships remain one-sided. Because one person is always waiting, always hoping, always needing. The shift happens when you become genuinely willing to walk away. When you are okay if the deal fails. When you are okay if they do not respond. When you are okay if the connection ends. Not because you do not care, but because you refuse to give anyone that level of control over your decisions. Non-attachment removes pressure points. When you need nothing, there is nothing to use against you. You become non-negotiable. Not because you demand it, but because there is no angle left to pressure you from. Machiavelli once said that those who adapt to the moment succeed, and those who do not fail. Need ties you to outcomes. Freedom from need allows movement. Start observing yourself. Every time you check your phone, waiting for a specific message, that is need. Every time you repeat yourself for validation, that is need. Every time you stay somewhere that no longer serves you, because leaving feels uncertain, that is need. Notice it, name it, then begin to reduce it. Not by pretending you do not care, but by building enough internal stability that external approval becomes optional. The most powerful people in any room are not the loudest. They are the ones who do not need anything from anyone. That quiet self-sufficiency draws respect without asking for it. Drop this in the comments. I need nothing proceed. Number 3, use silence to force exposure. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill it. They over-explain when it is unnecessary. They respond immediately when waiting would give them more control. They speak when silence would reveal everything. Here is what is rarely understood. Silence is one of the most effective psychological tools you have, and it costs nothing. When you stop reacting, everything changes. Someone says something meant to provoke you, and you give no response. Instantly, their mind starts working. Did it work? Did it land? Should they push further? Did they go too far? Silence creates a gap, and people rush to fill it. And in doing that, they expose themselves. Manipulation depends on feedback. Your anger confirms a hidden nerve. Your defense suggests there is truth in what they said. Your explanation signals guilt. Your immediate reply shows anticipation. Every reaction you give teaches them how to handle you. But when you give nothing, they are left alone with uncertainty. And uncertainty makes people reveal more than they intended. They start correcting themselves. They over-explain. They backtrack. They become louder. And the more they move, the more you see. Silence creates psychological imbalance without effort. It shifts their focus inward, while you remain completely composed on the outside. You are observing everything. They cannot read you, and that uncertainty alone puts you in control. This works in negotiations. You state your position, make your ask, and then you stop talking. The other person will almost always fill the silence. And more often than not, they will say something that works in your favor. It works in confrontation. When someone approaches you with intensity, you stay still. Your stillness disrupts them. They expected resistance. They prepared for conflict. Instead, they meet nothing. And now, they are left dealing with their own momentum. It works in everyday interactions. When someone asks a question designed to provoke a reaction, you pause, longer than is comfortable. You let the silence exist. You respond only when you choose to and on your terms. Machiavelli once pointed out that you can judge a ruler by the people around him. But before that, observe how someone handles silence. Because the one who can hold silence controls the room. Train yourself to sit in silence without rushing to fill it. Build the habit of pausing before every important response. Not because you lack something to say, but because you understand that silence itself communicates. And often it communicates more than words. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My pause speaks volumes. Number 4, break your patterns to stay unpredictable. People are wired to recognize patterns. From the moment someone meets you, they begin collecting data. How you react under pressure, how fast you respond, what triggers you, what calms you, how long you hold on to things, how far you can be pushed, and faster than you think. They build a model of you. Once that model is formed, they know how to handle you, what to say to calm you, what to say to provoke you, how to get what they want, how to avoid conflict while still staying in control. At that point, you become manageable. And manageable people do not lead, they get led. Consistent emotional patterns train people how to deal with you. If you always react strongly to criticism, people learn to filter everything around you. If you always forgive quickly, people learn they can cross lines without consequence. If you're always available, people learn your time has no boundaries. Your patterns become predictable pathways others can use. And most people never realize they are being read this clearly. Controlled unpredictability removes that advantage. When people cannot predict you, they cannot prepare. And when they cannot prepare, whatever strategy they have begins to fall apart. They slow down. They hesitate. They become careful. And that hesitation, that is a form of respect. Not forced respect. Not demanded. Earned. Because you're no longer easy to read. This is not about being chaotic. Random behavior is not power. The objective is control variation. You remain the same person with the same standards, but your responses are no longer fixed. Sometimes you respond immediately. Sometimes you take time. Sometimes you agree. Sometimes you push back where you used to stay silent. Sometimes you are warm. Sometimes you are direct. Always intentional. Never automatic. Break the patterns people have grown comfortable with. Not confuse them, but to maintain your autonomy. Because once someone fully maps your behavior, they begin to anticipate it. And anticipation creates control. Niccolo Machiavelli once noted that a ruler always finds reasons to break a promise. Your patterns function like unspoken promises. Expectations others place on you without your agreement. Break them deliberately. Start small. Adjust one predictable behavior this week. Reply at a different time. Respond differently to something that usually triggers the same reaction. Watch how quickly people notice. Watch how they adjust. That moment when they recalibrate, that is your control returning. Drop this in the comments. I am never predictable. Number 5, withdraw attention to increase your value. There's a psychological truth most people ignore. We rarely value what is always available. Think about the people who are always there, always responsive, always present, always consistent. And notice how often that presence becomes background, not out of malice, but because the mind assigns value based on scarcity. What is rare stands out. What is constant becomes invisible. Attention is a currency, and like any currency, the more it circulates without limit, the less it is worth. When you give your attention freely, to everyone all the time, without discretion, you are not being generous. You are lowering your value. You are signaling at a subconscious level that your attention is easily accessible. And people treat accessible things accordingly. They use them, then move on without attachment. But the moment attention becomes limited, when it is no longer guaranteed, when people are unsure they have it, when they begin to notice its absence, behavior shifts. They compensate. They invest more. They reach out. They try harder. Not because you demanded it, but because scarcity creates pull. This is not manipulation. It is alignment. It is bringing the way you give attention in line with what it is actually worth. Most people get this wrong. The moment they feel someone pulling away, they overcorrect. They give more. They become more available. They try harder to hold the connection. And in doing so, they reinforce imbalance. The other person pulls back even further. The dynamic tilts even more. Because your increased availability confirms your position. It shows that you are the one trying to maintain access. Instead, step back. Allow space. Reduce unnecessary responses. Make yourself slightly less accessible. Not as a tactic, not as a game, but as a correction of value. Let your presence be something that is felt when it is there, and notice when it is not. Let it be something that carries weight. Niccolo Machiavelli once observed that people are easily influenced by immediate needs, and easily misled because of it. The greatest mistake is believing that more availability creates more respect, more connection, more importance. In most cases, it does the opposite. Treat your attention like a finite resource, because it is. Your time, your focus, your emotional energy, they are limited. When you distribute them without intention, they lose impact. When you apply them selectively, they gain value. Value increases when access decreases. That is not harsh, it is structural. Drop this in the comments. My presence is valuable. Number 6. Delay your response to control the situation. Speed is often mistaken for strength. In reality, the fastest response is usually the least controlled. When you react immediately to every message, every provocation, every request, you signal compliance. You show that you are available on demand, that your timing adjusts to theirs, that when they initiate, you follow. Over time, this sets a pattern. Your rhythm bends around theirs. And once that expectation is established, breaking it requires intention. Delay introduces something speed never can. Control. Control over timing. Control over tone. Control over direction. When you choose when to respond, you influence how the interaction unfolds. You decide whether it escalates or settles. You decide how your words land. You decide the pace of the exchange. The one who controls timing controls the frame. Timing is not minor. It is leverage. In negotiation, the first to speak often gives away position. In conflict, the first to escalate often loses control of perception. In requests, immediate compliance signals lower priority. Delay forces others out of their rhythm. When someone sends something aggressive and you wait, then respond calmly, clearly, without matching their energy, you shift the entire dynamic. They sent pressure. You returned precision. They acted on impulse. You responded with control. Without saying anything dramatic, the position changes. This becomes even more important in high-stakes situations. Urgency is often artificial. It is used to force quick decisions before clear thinking can happen. Do not respond to pressure with speed. Respond with clarity. Take the time to process. Separate emotion from judgment. Then respond with intention. In practice, it looks simple. Something triggers you. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause. You step back. You allow the emotional surge to settle. And only then do you respond. Not with what you felt in the moment, but with what the situation actually requires. Niccolo Machiavelli once said, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." Adjust your timing to the moment. Move fast when speed benefits you. Move slow when patience gives you leverage. Delay is not avoidance. It is precision. The pause before a strong response is not weakness. It is the point where you decide how you show up. It is the space between stimulus and choice, and inside that space, everything shifts. Drop this in the comments. I respond, never react. Number 7. Practice detachment to remain untouchable. This is a foundation. The principle that makes everything else possible. Because you can control your expressions, reduce your needs, use silence, break patterns, manage attention, delay responses. But if you're still emotionally tied at the core, all of it collapses under pressure. Real control requires detachment, and detachment is often misunderstood. It is not coldness. It is not indifference. It is not disconnecting from life. Detachment is controlled involvement. It is the ability to be fully present without being consumed, to engage completely without being dependent on what happens next. In practice, it looks like this. You observe without absorbing. Someone brings anger, pressure, emotion. You see it clearly. You understand it. You respond if needed, but you do not internalize it. You do not carry it forward. You do not replay it later. You engage without depending. You want outcomes, but you are not defined by them. You aim for success, but you are not destabilized by failure. If things fall through, you adjust. You do not collapse. You walk away without explanation. When something no longer serves you, you leave cleanly. No long justifications. No unnecessary closure. just a clear decision, executed without noise. Emotional discipline removes access points. If someone cannot make you angry, cannot make you desperate, cannot make you uncertain, cannot make you need them, then they have no leverage, no entry point, no control. You become untouchable. And the key difference is this: you are still present. You are still involved. You are still engaged in life and in relationships, but you are no longer controlled by them. You participate, but you are never owned. Niccolo Machiavelli said it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But beyond both of those, there's another level: to be unreadable, to be respected without being fully understood, to be valued without being depended on. Detachment is built over time. It is not instant. It comes from repetition, from catching yourself in reactive moments and choosing differently. Start small. Someone cuts you off, detach. Plans fall through, detach. Something does not go your way, detach. Not because it is meaningless, but because your reaction should not control your state. Build it consistently, and over time, your response system changes. Things that once disrupted you will still happen, but they will not land the same way. They will not take hold. They will pass through without staying. You become present, but not reachable. Engaged, but not trapped. Stable, because nothing external reaches your center. We started with one idea. Emotion is not strength. It is a handle. And step by step, you have seen how to remove those handles. Most people will hear this, feel something, and go back to the same reactions. They will respond impulsively. They will reach when they should wait. They will reveal when they should hold back. And they will continue wondering why they feel out of control. But a small number, maybe you, will actually apply it. Here's the summary. Power is not force. Power is not volume. Power is not status, money, or influence. Real power is emotional independence under pressure. It is the ability to remain still while everything else moves, to observe without absorbing, to engage without depending, to lead without explaining. The shift from being managed to becoming untouchable is simple, but rare, because it requires something most people are unwilling to give. It requires you to stop revealing. Stop announcing what affects you. Stop displaying your frustrations, your fears, your desires. Hold more of yourself back, not from fear, but from discipline. It requires you to stop needing. Stop attaching your peace to someone else's approval. Stop waiting for closure that may never come. Stop allowing your direction to depend on what others give or withhold. Build your own base. Stand on it. And it requires you to stop reacting. Stop responding to every trigger. Stop operating on other people's timing. Stop allowing external situations to dictate your internal state. Become the one who sets the tone, not the one who adjusts to it. When you do this, when nothing moves you without your permission, everything changes. The world no longer directs you. It responds to you. That is not arrogance. That is control. If this shifted something for you, if you felt even a small change while watching, do 3 things. First, like the video. Support is what keeps this work going. Second, share it with someone who needs it, someone who is giving away control without realizing it. And third, subscribe if you have not already. This is not surface-level content. It is for those who are ready to see clearly and act differently. Now, drop your final affirmation in the comments. Make it real, not just words, commitment, because the final principle is this. When nothing can move you, nothing can control you. That is the identity you are building. Not cold, not distant, not disconnected, but fully present without being owned. Become the one who observes without attachment. Become the one who acts without being influenced. That is power. Take it. Now drop your final affirmation below.